I might have you be there, like they'll ask questions maybe tonight, and then for the action, it's the next board meeting, you would be there for the action.
Remember?
Yeah.
You know,
There's only 2 plugs there, Tony. I don't know, it was just like.
No, I think I will.
I would unplug me, but I'm dead.
they can turn it down.
I just need one over here.
But I think they would be the same.
Okay, yeah.
We'll get going in just a moment.
I need to.
A few technical issues. Christine's calling.
Right.
Yeah, I know.
I know.
I'm like, it's impressive. It's part of the grade. I think I went to that.
You know your part? You know your part? It's somewhere, right? Keep going. Somewhere.
I looked at
Big numbers.
Yeah, no problem.
Like a million.
You too.
All the
A
time.
little less needed.
Oh, okay. Yeah. And then here, just
you
keep
want
me
to
plugged
in.
in.
That's all I asked now, because I have no battery.
Oh, it's right here. Okay, thank you. Thank you. It's great.
I
Think I like you?
But I purposely. We will check just in case. I didn't like it.
Thank you for getting this.
I haven't built a trust yet. Then I your name tag.
Oh, yeah.
Now it told me it was shutting down.
Yeah.
But I'll try that again.
Mine's taken. Mine says please wait.
And they could be nice.
Yeah. I probably don't need my.
That was my goal. I want to talk to you because I was walking. Someone walked in. It is yours. I probably can't. Everybody's in my car. And I can't feel any water everywhere.
Yeah,
It only goes down there.
it only goes up.
That's good.
So you're gonna go stand.
Yeah. The only trick is after I practice, I only know. But I have but I forget to put the agent.
Oh, yeah. And you lose track. Yep.
That little screen is.
Yeah. Right. And I do have my own folder here.
Good. Yeah.
A lot of pressure.
Chances.
Couple.
Oh, it can get really weird. It can get weird.
I see 3 in the back.
You do? I don't see any teachers.
That's one in the back. Where are my eyes?
Where? Which row?
Right?
Welcome. This is the 55th annual meeting of the Muskego Norway School District. The formal budget hearing is part of the annual meeting as required by Wisconsin Statute 65.90 subsection 4. The qualifications for voting at the annual meeting as established by Wisconsin statutes include the following. A person of the United States 18 years of age or older, and B, a resident of the school district for at least 10 days before any election, per Wisconsin statutes 6.04. At this point, I'd like to have the board introduce themselves, starting with Mr. Strom.
Dean Strom.
Lisa Warwick.
Rick Petolsky.
Eric Schrader. Brett Hyde. Chris Buckmaster.
Bob Bowman. Thank you. At this point, I am looking for a nomination for a meeting chairperson.
I'd like to nominate Rick Pafalski.
Any other nominations? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you. At this point, I would like to appoint Mr. Buckmaster as our parliamentarian. Would you serve in that capacity?
Yes, sir, I will serve.
Moving on, President's report. I guess that's me. Well, thank you everyone for coming tonight. Before I give my report, I just want to talk a little bit about the meeting and how it goes. This is an interactive meeting, so we not only encourage your participation, we actually need it. Otherwise, this meeting goes a lot longer. There will be a number of items, if you follow along in your book, that require a motion and a second, and preferably from the crowd. So what we would be looking for, if you kind of plan ahead and decide which ones you want to do, there are 2 microphones at the end of each aisle. And those motions that we will need, those items that we'll need assistance from you at are under item 6, 6C, D, E, F, G, and H will all require somebody come up, and it has a motion in there already. If you just state your name, your address, and read the motion, and if somebody else could come up and second it, it will at least get it on the floor, and then we can talk about it and vote on it. Tonight, you also all get to vote for these motions, up or down, deciding which way your school district you want your school district to be run. All of the motions are preset except for item 6E, board salaries. There's a listing in there what the current school board makes. We will not assist you with this. This has to come from the crowd, so, but it has to be done tonight. So if somebody would come up and make a motion, if you have questions, we can answer any of it. This night also, if you have any questions as the presenters, mainly Ms. Kelly is going to be doing most of the presenting along with Dr. Thompson. Feel free to ask questions. This is your meeting. So that being said, my role here tonight as board president is to talk about what our board goals are for the year. Our first goal for the school district, for the school year, is to be responsible resource stewards. We want to provide responsible resource stewardship by developing a plan to address our aging elementary buildings and enhance needs to our high school athletic facilities and fields. The plan will include community readiness, perspective, scope of work, and timelines. So essentially, as you're aware, we asked the community in the past to consider some options for dealing with our facility issues in the district. For what I'm sure were a number of different reasons in the past, the community decided to not move forward with those plans at that time. But those problems are still here, so we have decided that maybe we need to take a new look at that. So we've begun to relook at that process and to see what options we might present. So we'll be looking at that in the next few months and deciding what to formulate and bring back to the community to get your input on. Our second goal is board development. The goal is to engage learners that support the elements of evidence-based leadership and prepares the system for a future Wisconsin Center Performance Excellence application, requesting feedback and continuous improvement efforts. Well, what that means is we as a district are always striving to be on the path of continuous improvement in our policies, processes, and actions. This process will allow us to be judged by experts to point out areas where we need improvement, as well as to identify the areas that we're doing well in and that we should continue moving forward in. Our third and final board goal is board governance, to integrate the Neola policy review process into the system's operations in order to define actions and make decisions that align with state statutes, best practices that align with state statute. Oh, I'm sorry, it got repeated. Let me read that again. Integrate the Neola policy review process into systems operations in order to define actions and make decisions that align with state statutes and best practices. Our current board policy is probably well over 6 inches thick. It has been, it hasn't been done the whole time I've been on the board. I've been here for 10 years. I'm not sure if it's ever been relooked at. As we do policies, we add to it. We try to update the policies as state statutes change and as community standards change. But this year we're taking a look at them as a whole group. And we hired a company called Neola, which reviews all of our policies and compares some state statutes and does all the cross-referencing. And then one by one, us as a board of administration are going through these policies to make sure they conform with what us as a community want to say as well. So it's not just a cookie cutter policy. So we're spending that time to make sure that all of our policies are up to date and in order. So those are our 3 goals. And at this point, I'm going to be turning the meeting over to Dr. Thompson. Thank you.
Thank you, Rick. Board President Pekulski, I should say. Well, good evening. It's really great to see all the students, administration, community members, parents. Thank you so much for being here this evening. It's in starting my 22nd year, I haven't been more proud of a district that really supports the learning of every student and really looks to support the development of all of our staff members, from teachers to custodial staff to our administration team. We look to continuously improve in everything that we do, and it's really a proud moment to be able to share with you the clarity that we have in where we're going, and to share the strength that we have in not only student performance and staff performance, but also in our budget performance also. So just a few thank yous. So not only thank you for being here, thank you to the staff, thank you to the board members for your collaborative efforts all throughout the year as we continue to move toward our mission and reaching our vision of being the district of choice. Also to John Gano and Darlene Bordeaux for supporting me, kind of behind the scenes efforts to ensure that tonight's meeting goes off without a glitch. And then Julie Kelly, our Assistant Superintendent for Business Operations, HR, and everything else under the sun. So thank you for your dedication and commitment to the detail that really is necessary in order for us to have a strong budget for our system, so that we can do the important work of educating every student. So the goal of my presentation is really just to provide you with a brief overview of our strategic plan and to give you a sense about the direction of the district and where we're going. So every strong strategic plan has a very clear mission, and we've had this mission for a number of years: every student learning, growing, and succeeding, and to keep the vision or the end in mind as we move forward. So we want to be the district of choice in southeastern Wisconsin, not only for the students, but for the parents and for the staff that work here. This is a picture that depicts, and actually if you go to your page 6 and 7 in your booklet, you'll see the same picture. And this is a representation of our strategic plan. So over here, you'll see our core competencies. We have 4 adult behaviors that we believe are important. They're the high leverage practices that we believe will move us forward in order to reach and positively impact our student goals, which are on the left here. So quickly, our core competencies, our 4 core competencies are exemplary teaching and learning, core to our mission, highly effective personnel, continuous improvement, and the 4th is sound stewardship of community resources. Our student goals, we have 3 of them. Academically literate, we expect all students to be academically literate, meaningfully engaged, in college and career ready. And you can see those 3 student goals link very nicely to our mission of every student learning, growing, and succeeding. And you can see that in parentheses as each one of those represents one aspect of our mission. This is a little bit more detailed. Under our core competencies, we have every year, we identify what key performance objectives or what annual objectives we're going to concentrate on so that we have a positive impact and we're moving forward with our student goals. So under exemplary teaching and learning, our focus is on reading achievement and reading growth. Under highly effective personnel, it's to integrate staff effectiveness models so that we enhance proficiency across our system. Under continuous improvement, we're focused on personalizing learning so that every student is prepared for college and careers. And the 4th, sound stewardship, we are focused on innovative solutions in the areas of wellness, and compensation, and also facility planning, as President Petfalski had mentioned in the board's goals. Over on the right-hand side here, the student goals then, we also have specific objective goals oriented around each one of our student goals. And this makes up what we call our eye on the goal. We have a district eye on the goal, and every single one of our schools within our district has an eye on the goal that aligns with these goals. So I will be focusing in on the student goals. That will be my presentation, and Julie Kelly will be talking more about the sound stewardship. So what I'll do is I'll talk about each of these three goals, share with you what our goals are. I'll share some data for each one of the goals that demonstrates our progress toward those goals, and then also any kind of recognition that we're receiving at this point in time. Now again, this is a survey, this is sort of an overview. There's a lot more specifics related to the data that we look at, but for this evening, I've selected these slides to share with you. So we'll start with goal 1, academically literate. We have two measurable goals. The first is that we want to increase reading proficiency growth proficiency growth for every student, that they will grow at least 1 year in 1 year's time. The second goal is reading achievement, and we want to make sure that we are competitive in Waukesha County, which is a very competitive county. We want to consistently be in the top third of Waukesha County with regard to our reading achievement. So here's some data that I can share with you. As I mentioned, every school has an eye on the goal. We have a 2020 plan, so we have long-term plans and goals and short-term goals. This is just a graph of our short-term goals at each of our sites. The red bar is our district goal for 2014-15, that we want 72% of our students measurably making a year's growth in a year's time, at least, or more. And then every school has their own goal. And by 2020, we want to make sure 100% of our students. And so we are working through developing strong curriculum, strong assessments to ensure that happens. In fourth grade, our reading assessment indicates that we are actually, the green arrow indicates that we are right now in the top third. Now, we can't say consistently we've been in the top third of Waukesha County with our fourth grade reading. That's what we're looking to make sure we accomplish, so that we have that longitudinal data that suggests we are a strong district with regard to reading achievement. The red bar that goes across horizontally is the state average. So again, Waukesha County is a very competitive county, and we are competitive within that county. Eighth grade, we have some growth here. This fluctuates between the middle third and the lower third, and so we do have strong plans at the middle school to make sure that we're addressing that reading achievement at the 8th grade. Another green arrow for the 10th grade reading achievement. We're in the top third as respect to Waukesha County. One of the efforts that we've made this year is to make sure that we are reducing the summer reading lag. So we made sure that we increased the number of summer school offerings, K-8 as well as at the high school, so that students were learning all year long. This is a graph that just shows over the last 4 years our enrollment in summer school and the huge increase that we experienced in the summer of 2014 with over 700 students participating. So we want to see that continuously growing and really absolutely wanting summer school to be just the norm for our kids here in Muskego, Norway. Our goal was that we would have 10,000 books circulated at the elementary K-8 and actually just at the elementary level. And we accomplished that by having a few of our elementary libraries open, having guest readers at our libraries. We have 10,600 books circulated. And at the high school, we also had an increase in our summer school program, much to do with our marching band program becoming a summer school option for kids. But we had 206 students in the summer of 2013 at the high school level participating in summer school, and that moved up to 460. So I attribute the great success in that to our two middle school principals, Sarah Stanley and John McEwing, who oversaw the KA program, and Ken Dunbar at the high school, who oversaw the high school program. So those are great numbers, and we want to see those continuing to grow. Some recognition in the area of academic literacy. The district was identified as exceeding expectations. What the state looks at is student achievement, not only in reading, but also in math. Student growth, they take every student and they look at whether or not that student grew from one year to the next year. Closing the gap, which looks at students who might have a disability or come from varied backgrounds or ethnic groups, and looks at a district whether or not those students are achieving at the same level as students who don't come from those same backgrounds. They also look at on-track and post-secondary readiness, so graduation, attendance, all of those efforts are looked at. And so we're proud that we do, as a district, exceed expectations. With that said, we have actually two schools in our system that are significantly exceeding expectations: Lakeview Elementary and Muskego High School. And so you'll see their accountability score in the little Wisconsin sign up there. So we're very proud of that. Lakeview also was identified by the Department of Public Instruction as a Wisconsin Title I School of Recognition for their high achievement. So those are great recognitions. We're very proud of the student performance and the staff dedication to ensuring that every student's learning, growing, and succeeding. So in comparison, this is a graph that shows Muskego High School in Waukesha County with that accountability score, so significantly exceeding expectations. And they are we are at Muskego High School within the top third. There are 56 elementary schools in Waukesha County, so the graph is kind of ridiculous, but we have a number of our elementary schools also in the top third in Waukesha County. And Baleen Middle School also. So we'll move to the second goal, meaningfully engaged. We have one goal here, that student engagement levels are above median in comparison to benchmark districts. So what we look at here is make sure that we have strong attendance rates and strong graduation rates, which we do. When we compare how our students are attending and graduating, we're right with Waukesha County. When we're this high, when we're so close to 100%, there's little bits of fluctuation year to year, but there are oftentimes we're leading the county. We also look at co-curricular opportunities, making sure students are involved. We track how many students are involved in athletics, in music, in academics, because what we know is it's important for students to participate in school activities outside of academics during the school year. And then student satisfaction. We have engagement surveys that we give to our students, and we track their engagement with school and their satisfaction with school. And we also have behavioral programs at every one of our schools to make sure that we have behavioral expectations explicitly indicated so they know what the expectations are, because also satisfaction is linked highly to how safe a student feels within their school environment. So, of course, we want to see this increase all the time. Some recognitions. We are very proud of our fine arts program here in Muskego, Norway. We have over 300 students in our marching band, which is pretty awesome when you go to a football game, or if they're in different other environments. To see that many kids engaged in that activity is pretty overwhelming. One of their bands, MHS Wind Ensemble, has been invited to participate in the Wisconsin State Music Conference and actually perform. It's Thursday, but that's like the music state. So they've like achieved a state level. That's it. Music at the high school is a keystone to our system, but it grows from our elementary and middle school programs. Like the new middle school is also being recognized at the state level, with an 8th grade chorale being invited to the Wisconsin Choral Directors Association in January to perform. So those are great things. Other things that happen in our system, the Muskego Elementary, for instance, gives back to the community through their garden, their Wolfpack garden, and they harvest hundreds of pounds of food for the Muskego Pantry. So those are opportunities for students to be involved, feel satisfied, feel like they're contributing to our system. And again, these are just some examples. There are lots of examples of this throughout our system. With regard to some of our athletics, we have conference champs in our boys volleyball this year, as well as our football team that's doing amazing. Last year we had sportsmanship awards throughout the year, so our students are not only athletically inclined and very competitive in a Classic 8 conference, which is very strong. We're competing against Arrowhead and Kettle Moraine and, you know, very strong systems. We've had sportsmanship awards given in baseball, boys and girls basketball, girls tennis, and boys golf. So again, it's that whole child development. State champs last year in boys soccer, gymnastics, 4 years running, boys track, forensics. We always have a very strong Odyssey of the Mind. Number of teams go to World every year. And our student council hosted, over the last 5 years, I believe, 2 of their state organizations here in Muskego High School. Lots of great things going on. Our third goal, college and career ready. We have 3 sub-goals in here in this area. We have the ACT performance is in the top third of Waukesha County. We want to make sure that every student has a plan for when they leave high school. So we have to prepare students for college and for careers. So in order for them to be able to reach their goals, we need to make sure they have a plan. And so it's our job to make sure that they have one, and it includes some level of education, whether it's a 2-year, a 4-year, military, apprenticeship, something that will help them reach their goal. And the third is something called pathways, and we have indicators that we track at the elementary, at the middle, and at the high school level to ensure that kids are on track to their being prepared for college and career. So I'll go into each one of these a little bit. So ACT composite, I have a yellow arrow moving up because we're not quite in the top of the top third of Waukesha County, but we're getting there. We have strong success with regard to ACT. We're far above the state average. This is the percentage of students taking the ACT. So we've made concerted efforts, very focused effort to make sure that students feel that they can go to college if they want to. And so the high school has worked very diligently to make sure that more students feel like they are capable of, and they should take the ACT. So the increase there, you can see we were hovering for years and years, right around the 67% of our by the time they're a senior, took the ACT. Last year, the senior class, 77% of them took the ACT, demonstrating to us that they could see themselves going to college if they chose to. Now, this changes a little bit in 2015. Now 100% of our students will be taking the ACT. It is the state test for juniors in the state of Wisconsin. So 100% of them will take it. It will be compared with, you know, across the state how well our students do. So again, the high school is very much on course to ensure that all students are prepared to take that ACT, looking at the standards, making sure they understand what's being asked of them, what they need to know and be able to do so that they can be successful on that ACT. We continue to encourage parents to make sure that their students are prepared. So there are other things that kids can get involved in to make sure that they are prepared for the ACT, so that it's not just the March test when they're junior year, that they've had multiple opportunities throughout their high school career to be prepared for it. So we are so that the students are well prepared for taking that ACT test when they're a junior. The second goal was the educational program plan. Again, we want 100% of our students to have a plan that includes some level of educational programming for them. You can see that over the 4 years prior to last year, we were hovering right around 88 to maybe 90% of our kids, and now we're getting close to 95%. So again, it's what we expect, what we inspect, and you know, really being clear about what students need to do and feel so that they feel that they're prepared for their next step. This is that pathways, that third goal under college and career that I spoke to. So we want 100% of our students to be well prepared for college and careers. And so what we do at elementary, we look at first, third, and fourth grade. How are they doing with reading and math, and making sure that they're on track, not only book level, but also their achievement. And that just goes on. We had last year about 61%, that was our baseline year, meeting each one of these steps or indicators. We're looking to increase that to 67% for this year. Another component of college and career readiness is really having students take advantage of the opportunities we offer with regard to advanced placement. Just taking an advanced placement test, or I'm sorry, the course itself has a significant impact on the students' ability to actually sustain themselves in college. Just having the experience of the rigorous nature of an AP. So we want more kids taking AP, and we want more students taking the AP test or the assessment. So if you look at this, you can see a nice upward trend in the blue bars, the red bars, and the green bars. The blue bar is the number of AP students. So you can see it increasing from, just over 250 back in 2010 to nearly 400 students. So that's non-duplicated, just the number of students who took an AP test, or I'm sorry, just the class itself. The red bar are the number of AP exams. So students take multiple AP, and then they take the exam. And you can see a nice upward trend. Again, 656, I believe, AP tests taken this year. Again, a huge benefit to students as they prepare for college. The green is the number of AP students with a 3 or higher. And 3 or higher is a general number where colleges and universities will accept AP credits if they achieve a 3, 4, or 5 on that AP test. So again, even with more students and more exams, we still are maintaining and growing the number of students who are successful on the AP exam. Great news. So we have 25 offerings right now in AP. We included AP Environmental Science last year. This year, the board will actually be, at our next meeting at 8 o'clock, we'll be looking at 3 additional AP courses, the micro and macro economics, human geography, and statistics. So here's just another view of the advanced placement. The red is the number of high school seniors that we had over the last 5 years, and the blue is the number of AP exams. And so you can see, of course, we would love to have that red line go up too, and have our enrollment grow. But even despite sort of that uneven trend, we have a lot of students interested in taking AP. So some recognitions related to college and career readiness. The Washington Post has identified Muskego High School for a number of years as one of America's most challenging high schools. We were one of only 22 high schools last year in the state of Wisconsin with that recognition. And for a few years, we've been on the College Board's annual AP honor roll. So that's a little bit about our strategic plan. Really, our focus, again, is reading achievement and growth. It's about making sure that students are engaged, and it's also preparing students for their next level of education, their college and their career goals and plans. So, any questions? Well, thank you for attending. I appreciate it very much, and I'm going to turn it over to Lisa Warwick, our treasurer.
The 2013-14 Treasurer's Report presents the district's finances in review. On July 1st, 2013, the district's general fund balance was $18,317,717.84. Total unaudited general fund revenues for 2013-14 are $51,605,502.37, while total unaudited general fund expenditures are $51,133,539.10. $595.02. On July 30th, 2014, the unaudited year-end general fund balance is $18,789,625.19. The fund balance represents 36.75% of expenditures and positively reflects the board's ongoing commitment to maintain a healthy fund balance. This will preclude the district from needing to short-term cash flow borrow for the 2014-15 years. Thank you.
Thank you, Lisa. Good evening. My name is Julie Kelly. I'm the Assistant Superintendent for Business Operations and HR here at the district. And today I'm going to focus on the sound stewardship of resources core competency. We're going to recap 2013-14 for you. We're going to tell you what to expect for 14-15, and then we'll just briefly touch on the 2015-16 budget planning process. So as you look back at 13-14, I think it's important to note that our district took the approach to build the budget using a zero-based budget approach. And basically what that means is every department head, principal, anybody who's in charge of a budget here at the district took a look at all the expenditures from the past couple of years, really evaluated the programs and things that we wanted to accomplish for this year, and built the budget kind of from the ground up. So it wasn't like, let's look at what we did last year, roll it forward with a % increase. There was a lot of focus on specific expenditures this year and making sure that we were allocating resources to the right area. We did have to cut $600,000 out of the budget this past year, and so utilizing that process really helped us to get to that point. Two significant changes that we made in the 13-14 budget were made in the area of benefits. One was in the district's health insurance program for the district, and the other was the board's revision of retirement benefits for staff who were hired after July 1st, 2013. So as we looked at our health insurance program, our insurance rates came back relatively unfavorable. And this was back in the fall of 2013. We have a January 1st start year for our health insurance program, so we decided that we were going to bid out the insurance plan. And basically what we found to that bid is that we were able to change carriers. We went from United to WPS, and we realized over $1 million savings within the health insurance cost. So we were able to save $1 million just by not staying with the company that we were with. And that we have to, I guess, thank the staff for that, because the staff really looked at the options that were out there and chose to help us make that decision to move to a different carrier. As the board looked at other post-employment benefits, we're always looking to reduce those costs. And so they adopted a resolution to establish a 403B program that created a district matching contribution. And this is very common in the private sector for 401ks, but in the public sector, it's not as common. And so this was a good step in the right direction for our district. This program allows any employee hired after July 1st, 2013 to put money into a 403B account. The district will match up to a certain percent in that 403B account, and that money they become vested with that money. This program does replace the health insurance retirement benefits and eliminates post-employment liability for any employee hired after July 1st, 2013. So if you look back at 2013-14, how were your tax dollars spent? 60% were spent on instructional services, which means that 60% of our operating budget was spent in the classroom, whether it be for salary and benefits for teachers, supplies, computers, those types of things for the students. It was spent in the classroom. 31% of the budget was spent to support those instructional services, and 9% was spent on non-program transactions. And this is in the area of, let's say, open enrollment outs. We have students who leave our district and we have to pay other districts for our students to go there. That's where those dollars fall. So as we look at the 2013 budget and fund balance, our 2013-14 budget came in under budget, so we were able to put money into fund balance for future use. And our board policy states that our fund balance level should be sufficient enough to preclude short-term borrowing and to also help us guard against unanticipated expenditures and unrealized revenues. So if we have an issue with the roof or if a boiler goes down, we have the funds available right away to help keep our systems going. Having a strong fund balance also helps the district as we look to the future for short-term, for other debt borrowing. So for instance, if we do end up going out for a referendum and the community were to pass a referendum in future years, that gives us a really strong credit rating that we have a really good fund balance. So here's just a graph of our fund balance since 1994-1995. You'll notice that we've increased our level of fund balance. You'll notice right here in 2012-13, we had a little bit of a dip. And that was purposeful use of dollars that the board said, you know, our facilities, we need to make sure that we're maintaining them. So they put about 1.4 million, I believe, into our facilities. And that helped to sustain us at least to get through the next couple of years. As we continue to look at our investment in facilities, obviously we're going to spend as much money as we can to keep our facilities safe and secure for our staff and students. But our capital project list, the list that we have of all of the things that need to be done, far exceeds the amount of money that we have to do those things. And so we do maintain a capital plan, a 5-year capital plan that every year we prioritize and we make sure that we're doing as much as we can with the resources that we have. And this does include all of our facilities, including athletics. For the 13-14 years, as far as our capital projects go, the board did invest money into the renovation of the former weight room, now known as the Human Performance Center, at the Muskego High School. We also took on a Lake Danoon roofing project, and we've taken on maintenance projects such as seal coating, repairs, and painting across the district. Looking at our buildings, we can say that we have safe and efficient facilities. Since 2006, we've seen a $3.6 million energy savings in our facilities. 100% of our buildings are now equipped with safe and secure entrances. We have 29,000 hours of community use of our facilities. And we have a strong utilization of local businesses, contractors, and vendors. So we try to keep a lot of the services and the things that we're purchasing as local as possible to keep the funds traveling within the community. So as we look forward to 2014-15, it was alluded that we are looking into facility master planning. And this is in response to immediate and future facility needs, student capacity levels at the elementary school, technology infrastructure needs, athletic facility needs that allow us to remain competitive with surrounding schools, and other needs as defined by the master planning committee. So once the committee comes back together and we start to look at our priorities, there may be other things that are added to this list. As we look at our overall district debt, and as we plan for the future, we want to make sure that we're being very much aware of the debt that exists and make sure that we're not adding too much debt as we look into the future. And so the board has done some purposeful refinancing of debt over the last couple of years, creating an annual debt payment of about $3 million. And by doing this, they're going to be able to pay off existing debt early. So this was the Lake Danoon debt and the high school debt. They'll be able to pay that off early and save on interest costs. And this is just a graph that shows what the debt has looked like since 2008, 2009. You'll see the consistent payments that move from 2012 forward into the future. And then we have what we like to call this debt cliff right in 2020. So debt would have been paid off in 2021, 2022, but because of the refinancing, it'll be paid off a year early, and actually it'll be paid off in the fall of 2020. And that'll create some abilities for us. If we need to add debt into the future, it creates that gap for us to be able to fill in debt without having a large impact on our taxes. So as we look at the 2014-15 budget development process, there are some things to note about the state and how it distributes money to school districts. The state limits how much money we can earn through state aid and property taxes, and that's called the revenue limit. In that formula, there's factors that fill into it. Some of those factors include pupil count, equalized valuations, and state equalization aid. As we look at our pupil count is important because the amount of aid we get is based on the number of resident students we have coming to our school district. This year, we saw a decline of 47 students. We've seen a decline the past couple years, and so what we've been trying to do is getting creative on how to increase the number of students that we can count. So earlier, Dr. Thompson did talk about the summer school options that were available. We did put a shuttle service in place to be able to get kids to summer school. And as a result of those efforts and the efforts of the administration to build those program options for students, we were able to bring in an additional 66 full-time equivalents. And that's the calculation that's done to calculate the number of hours that students attend, excuse me, the number of hours that students attend and convert it into account for revenue limit and state aid. We also look at our open enrollment. That's another opportunity for us to build in revenue for the district. We currently have 164 open enrollment students, and that's an increase of 18 students this year for the district. We've also seen an increase of the number of students going out of our district by 13 students this year. So we have about 126 students that leave our district. And, but the good part about that is that we bring in more revenue than we pay out, so the program is a net gain for our district. This graph just shows the resident enrollment trend over the past couple of years. So you can see that there has been a decline in resident enrollment. And then looking at the overall state formula for funding, the state provides school aid to districts based on property values and student count. So the more resident students you have, the more money you get. The higher property values they have, the less money you get. So the state looks at districts who are unable to afford schools through local taxes, excuse me, and provides them additional aid. So for our district, our state equalization aid is about 35%. Our local tax levy supports us by about 52%. So of our overall district's revenue operating budget, 87% is made up through state aid and taxes. This year, we talk about equalized property valuations. That increased 4.2% in Muskegon, Norway this year. And a result of running all of those numbers through the formula, we are looking at a 0.5% decrease in the tax levy. As we get to the meeting after the annual meeting, where we actually have all of our numbers finalized, that number will actually change slightly. It'll be decreased by 0.6%. So again, this graphic just shows that as state aid goes either up or down, the tax levy corresponds with that. So as state aid goes up, the tax levy goes down and vice versa. Our general fund revenue, our property taxes are about 52% of the budget. Equalization aid, again, about 35%. Open enrollment only makes up about 1.9%. Our other local sources, such as student fees, make up 1% of the budget. State aid, this could include grants and other categorical aids from the state, is about 4.8%. Our federal sources, such as grants and Medicaid from the federal government, make up 3%. And then we have other, about 1.8%. Because we are in the people business and most of our budget is salaries and expenditures, you'll see that 75% of our expenditure budget is made up of staffing costs. And the remaining areas of the budget include personal services at 16.2%. Supplies and equipment are right about 6.5%. Our debt and insurance payments are just under 2%, and then other 0.2%. Last year at the annual meeting, the board approved the establishment of the Capital Projects Fund, which is a separate fund that allows us to put money in for capital projects, be able to roll that money over from year to year. It also helps us, the way that the formula works, the more we spend, the less money we get from the state. So what it allows us to do is spend this money, but it amortizes those costs over a number of years, so it decreases the effect that we actually lose state aid for spending that money. So this year we're looking to put $400,000 again into that fund. So looking at our overall 14-15 tax levy, we have about a 28.8% general operations tax levy. Fund 39 is our debt levy, and that's again right around $3 million. Fund 38 is our non-referendum debt levy. That's about $108,000. Fund 41, again, the capital projects fund at $400,000. One thing to note is if we didn't put that $400,000 into the Fund 41 levy, it would roll into Fund 10, so it wouldn't be like we could reduce it to save on any costs. And then Fund 80 is our community service fund, and that's set at $95,000 for a total levy of $32.4 million. So again, this represents a 0.5 decrease in the levy, and this is one good thing to note. The board has worked really hard, and this will be the fourth year in a row that Muskegon, Norway will see a decrease in the tax levy. And then as we look forward to 2015-16, we actually finish this meeting. Within 2 weeks, we'll start planning for 15-16. So we'll start that process, again, using that zero-based budgeting model that we used in 13-14 and 14-15. And we will be working through and creating a budget calendar to show you where all the highlights are for the budget. And we'll post it on the website at the end of November. I'd be happy to entertain any questions that anybody might have.
Could you step up to the microphone, please? Sorry. That way everyone gets to hear your wonderful question.
My name is Jim Lindstrom. The question I had is the $400,000 capital expansion.
Yes.
Okay, that's a new tax that you're adding?
It's not a new tax. What it allows us to do is take money that we would have levied in Fund 10 and just segregate it out to only be spent on capital projects. So if we didn't levy those funds in Fund 41, that $400,000 would be added to the Fund 10.
Good, okay, so you have money there
It's already there, correct, and budgeted.
Okay, I'm just wondering how this is figured.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Now's your chance. Going once. All right, thank you. Thank you, Ms. Kelly.
Thank you.
Moving on to clerk's report, Mr. Hyde.
Thank you. The 2014-2015 budget summary is as follows. For 2014-2015, budgeted general fund revenues are $55,237,799, and budgeted general fund expenditures are $55,237,799, representing a balanced budget. The tax levy projection based on the proposed budget is as follows. For general fund, Fund 10, $28,853,516. For debt service fund 38, $108,502. For debt service fund 39, $2,996,521. For capital projects fund 41, $400,000. For community service fund 80, $95,000. For a total property tax levy of $32,453,539. This concludes the clerk's report.
Thank you. All right, now we're getting to the part of the program where we get a little interactive. We're on, for you, those of you following around in your program, we're under new business, item 6C. I'm going to be looking for a motion to come from someone to establish the Capital Expansion Fund 41. That's the gentleman that just came up and asked a question about. That's the fund that we create for maintenance and capital projects. So if anyone could be so inclined to come forward to the microphone, give their name, address, and read the motion underneath where it starts with there, or now therefore be it resolved. We go home quicker if people come up with that.
Ben McMullen, 26823 Long Lake Road. Establishment of the Capital Expenditure Fund 41, a motion to vote a tax in the amount of $400,000 for the Capital Expansion Fund for the purpose of financing capital expenditures at various district buildings and sites.
Could I get somebody up to second that? You do.
Lisa Deller, S98W13321 Champions Drive. I second.
Thank you. Any questions or discussion on the motion? All right. All those in favor state aye. Aye. Opposed? It passes unanimously. Thank you. The next item is item 6D, approval of the tax levy. I appreciate the gentleman that came up and did the last motion, and to make it simpler, all you need to do is come up and make the motion as written in the proposal, so you don't have to read the whole thing. That will encourage anyone up to come up sooner. Thank you. All you need to do is make a motion to approve the tax levy as stated in the program. I think should suffice.
Candace Cook, 26733 Lakeview Drive. Motion to approve the tax levy as stated in 6D of the program.
Thank you. Could I get somebody to second that?
Dave Wade, South 77 West 17803, St. Leonard's Court. Second motion.
Thank you. Any questions or discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor of the motion as presented, state aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes unanimously. Moving on to item 6E, board salaries. This will be a motion to set the pay for the Muskego Norway School Board members. The current pay is $4,200.79 for members, I'm sorry, $4,279 for members, and the president receives $4,636 per year. This is all up to you guys and what you would like to do, but we'll need something to fill in the blank, and if somebody can come forward and propose something. You can ask questions if you want to before you propose it, or
Jim Winstrom again. I'd like to keep it the same.
okay. Could we get somebody to second that?
Jim Brownell, W173S7955 Scenic Drive. I second the motion.
Any questions, discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor state aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you. Moving on to item 6F, payment of actual and necessary expenses. This is essentially saying that if we, as board members, do any traveling or anything else, we get reimbursed for our expenses for doing that. The type of traveling or anything like that is almost nothing every year, and if it is, it's for a conference or something, a seminar for new board members typically. We try to have new board members get trained on boardmanship and things of that such. So that covers the majority of anything that comes forward on that. So if I could get a motion from the audience on that.
Jim Brownell, I haven't moved. I so move.
Debbie Brownlow, W173S7955 Scenic Drive. I second the motion.
Thank you. Any questions or discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye. Opposed? Motion passes unanimously. Item 6G, annual meeting date and time. This is to set the annual meeting for next year. We have to, per state statutes, we have to approve that here, or it falls on a specific date. What we are looking for tonight is a range of giving us some discretion to fit it, the annual meeting somewhere between May 15th and October 31st. Typically, we try to have it about this time of year every year because that's when we have all our information from the state on what we're getting for state aid, and we can give you the most accurate information. Years ago, we used to have it earlier in June. The information that we would approve at the annual meeting almost never reflected anything near what we were actually doing in fall when we got the information, so that's why we have it later now. So if I could get somebody up here to make a motion to give us that range, or unless somebody really wants a specific date, you could plug that in as well. We could vote on that.
Kelly O'Reilly, S103, W14823 Loomis Drive. And I move to give the motion to give the range for the annual meeting of date and time set by the board.
Thank you. Can I get a second? It's almost unlikely it would ever happen on that date. In fact, could we?
It looks like it'll be the 26th.
Most likely it'll be the 26th of October next year. Any discussion, questions, further discussion, questions? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Passes unanimously. 6H, other business, disposal of surplus equipment. Essentially, we're a big operation and some items outlive its useful life for us, but sometimes have some, to say, lack of a better term, rummage sale value. Does he sell this on Craigslist, or how's he?
We're looking at an opportunity to do something.
Okay, so in the past we've had like a rummage sale with old computers, all different types of stuff. Nothing of real high value, but we have to have approval from the electorate to dispose of these items. So somebody come forward and make a motion.
Debbie Brownlow, I move that we give the school district the authorization to dispose of the equipment when its time is done.
I'm Jim Brownlow. I second the motion.
Questions, discussion? Yep.
Kelly O'Reilly again. I am wondering if any of these items that are considered obsolete or old, not useful in the schools, are given to any of our families who are in more of a dire straits or could benefit from older computers, books, items that we don't technically have available in the schools anymore.
Would that fall into our board policy?
Yes.
It would fall under our board policy, which is what the motion would fall into. So if that were identified, and we could hook the two up, yes, it would fall into our policy.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions or discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye. Opposed? Passes unanimously. Could I get a motion to adjourn? Anyone?
Jim, what about you?
I move to adjourn.
All right. All those in favor of adjournment, state aye.
Aye.
We are adjourned. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you
We
for
appreciate it. We will be having a regular school board meeting following this in about 15 minutes. If anyone would care to sit through another meeting, it's not quite as interactive, but maybe more interesting.
Hey, Brett.
Okay.
We good?
We'll probably have a couple minutes here.
Yeah.
Everything's I could feel my
Really?
face
Oh, is
getting
that it?
flushed as I was reading
Anytime
them.
I get in here, I'm like, oh, I can't find another chair at this point. Okay,
That's
I'm gonna
fine.
grab water.
No,
And, was it flushed? You've been done?
Stars, right?
Yeah, I'll stand up for a bit. Yep.
Yeah.
That'll be good.
Yeah.